This video is going to show us how to do our toolbox briefing, our pre-start briefings. So like in the other videos, we showed you the checks on the left hand side here. On the right hand side we can do a briefing. And this will be attached and part of the jobs. This is more critical for your eBoard users, but it's still important for your guest mode users who are just using this as a standalone app. The reason being is you won't have to create the site to know what the details are that briefing is related to. So always go to the site you've already created because it'll save you a few extra steps. Whereas if we go down here and go back to the main burger bar menu, we can go into here, but it's going to ask to name the site and a whole lot of other things. So doing it inside your check is much faster. So we open one of the sites we already had open. We're doing a briefing for that site. We have the wee plus button. And we can add our attendees, so there's attendees option on the top here. So if somebody's attending the toolbox briefing, put in their phone number, they sign that they're at the briefing, we click save, so we've got John added there. If somebody else comes along or as part of the briefing, you can add them in, an extra person. You're going to put their phone number in, they'll save, you add them. So you're going to add everyone that's attending that briefing, but as the day goes on, if you need to show them your on-site hazards and you've already done a toolbox and you just want to sign them in, or somebody's coming in to audit your site, or somebody's coming to visit you, you can just add them and then go through the hazards, which is the other box on the right hand side there. So that's nice and straightforward. We've got the topics discussed box here, all the things that you've talked about, and we've got another tick box which is confirm that you've covered all the safety aspects of the traffic management plan, which is pretty much a given for any toolbox on a traffic management site. If we go into the hazards, you can write in your hazards so they display. If you're using eBoard, you can actually in the settings of eBoard write in predetermined hazards or your generic daily hazards you'll know you'll encounter. So this one here is synced, so you can see I don't have to go and write the common hazards we come across each day. They're already pre-populated with actions that need to be taken for each hazard. If you're not linked to eBoard, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to mention that. You can just add a new hazard. So you can write what it is. Overhead hazard, action, hard hats, news, cone, bars to isolate the area, and that's your action for that. So we've added that hazard now. You can see it down the bottom, what it is. We can add as many as those as we want. Just push the wee plus button. The load hazard register is, again, if you sync to eBoard, and you can have separate hazard registers. So you might be doing tree felling. If you've got a whole set of hazards and actions for that type of activity, you can bring them in. Excavation work or types of work activity. But again, it doesn't matter if you sync to eBoard or not on using that full system. This still allows you to add your hazards. Down the bottom, you've always got the option there to cover off what you've talked about, so speeding traffic and anything else that you're going to chat about the toolbox briefing. Anything you've all talked about, and that's why at the end you'd go and do your attendees, they sign, they acknowledge that. Whereas adding a specific hazard lets you really say what the hazard is and then the control or the action around catering for that hazard. And topics discussed, like I've just shown you, tick the wee box. Away we go. We can click save. We can also add pictures. So up the top right hand corner here we've got pictures. But when we go to click save, it's always going to ask us if we want to take pictures. So what taking a picture might be of everybody who attended the toolbox briefing. Now that's a good way to really prove who was at the toolbox briefing. If there's somebody there that doesn't want to be in your picture, or they can simply just add them in and they sign. But it's still a good way to cover things off. You could also take pictures of other subcontractors' toolbox briefings they've done or their hazard register. So then their hazard register's attached to your briefing with the TMP and everything else. You can take a picture of your TMP and your diagram, and there might be a sign there with all their hazard registers, and you just take a picture of that and you can now have that attached to it. So you've got all the hazards you've talked about, you've incorporated everything else that might be around by taking pictures of that. Might even be a picture of that hazard that you're identifying you want to make actions to. So it really is a great system. And we click save and we can add that to it. we can see we've got it in there, our hazards, nice and easy. Again, if we're out of reception, we can hit the wee email. When we come back into reception, we can view pictures we've taken and all that sort of stuff. Thank you very much for watching.